Hi, it's Chris with Implied Music. Walking bass, a quarter note bass line that outlines the chords and creates a secondary melody to the tune can be a little bit daunting. There's a couple of tricks we can use to make it work. Let's take a look. Well, I've been having a lot of fun playing walking bass lines on organ. And of course, on piano, we do it as well. One thing that keyboard players are often called to do is handle two jobs at once. This hand plays bass, this hand plays chords. Maybe there's a singer, a lead, or something like that. But walking bass isn't just for pianists, right? Or bass players for that matter, because producers very often need to create melodies at the bottom of the sound in order to propel the arrangement. There's a couple of tricks. I did a short yesterday about one of my favorites, but let's look at a few together. So listen, here's the simplest idea. A walking bass line most frequently plays notes other than the root of the chord. So if I have a D minor 7 chord, my walking bass might outline that chord. D, F, A. I'm going up the chord and then back down. One thing you might notice from that pattern is I'm careful to choose phrases that land me on the downbeat of the next measure. If I have 4 beats in a measure, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. I'm trying to land on an important chord tone on the downbeat. First rule, land on an important chord tone, maybe the root, maybe the fifth, on the downbeat. That's simple and really important. Okay, here's the next thing. Chords most often cycle in fourths. I mean, sometimes they do thirds and stuff, but fourths is a really important idea. So take, for instance, this chord cycle. There's our D minor 7 again. There's our G. And I'm going to go to C. Basically, that went up a fourth, up another fourth to C. So I've got the situation where I have scale tone wise 1, 2, 3 scale tones before the G. So I've got to somehow find a way to get between those two chords. And this is, I think, my favorite thing to do. Whole step, half step, half step. That's 4 notes, and now I'm at G. Now, if I want to get to C, same thing. Whole step, half step, half step. Now, if you want to analyze it from a jazz or blues point of view, what I've done is I've inserted a blue note before the major third, or, taken the minor third in the case of the D and raised it up to become a major third. It's a pretty powerful sound. Listen to it in context. D, G, and I'm going to walk down to C. Now, when I walked down to C, I was on G, and going down to C, it's super easy. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. G, F, E, D, C. I could just as easily have continued on up, but I probably should have started lower. D, G, C. Pretty cool. Now, jazz turnaround? Sure, no problem. A typical jazz turnaround. C, that's the 6th chord as a dominant. 2 chord, 5, 2, 5, 1. 1, 6, 2, 5. So I want to come up with a bass line and a walk that will get me there. Did you hear how fast those chords went? I'm going to have to come up with another scheme. And it's the next rule for walking bass lines. You can approach any bass note from a half step above or a half step below. There's other ways to think about it, but think about that for a second. That means I can slip down into it or push up to it, right? Here's my half note bass line. C for 2 counts, A for 2 counts, D for 2 counts, G for 2 counts. But I want to have 2 notes for each one of those. So C, approach the A from a half step above, approach the D from a half step below, approach the G from a half step above, and I'm going to approach the C from a half step below. It's a great bass line. Bass lines can be melodies. Walk your bass lines for more interest. Even if you're a producer doing pop music, I don't care, electronica, sometimes you need textures that are jazzy, textures that have a little walking propulsion, that are almost a little more pedestrian, if you know what I mean, like a person walking along, as opposed to that big syncopated sound. Quarter note walking bass lines are super powerful for that trick. Well, like and subscribe, hit the bell. Gee, I hope this has been useful, guys. Let me know what you think. Would you ever use a walking bass line? I bet the answer is no for some of you. I'll see you next time.